So now it's time for some NBA talk, though. We got the NBA playoffs, which are now moving into the conference finals portion of their bracket as well with hockey. And let's just go through the upcoming matchups that we have coming, talking about how they got here a little bit. So the Timberwolves have finally arrived. This was a team that for years, I tell you, oh, they got Cat, oh, they got Wiggs, oh, they got Zach LaVine at one point. Oh, they got all this young talent, and they just never did anything. It was like finally Jimmy Butler poked him and said, all right, we're going to do something. And then Jimmy left, and it's been back to. But finally they're here thanks to Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, ironically enough, the post-game interview with Kat and Ant was absolutely hilarious. Not sure either one of you guys saw.
I think I saw a little bit of it.
Yeah, basically one of the questions was, everybody always hears before you arrive, you got to have a tough loss to build you up. Kat looks at the announcer. He's like, we lost last year. And then Ant just goes, we lost the year before that. Kat's like, we have lost for 20 years. How much more losing do we need to do?
Yeah.
The characters that these T-Wolves teams have,
Yeah.
I love. It is great for basketball, and they're
Agreed.
Anna's going to become the face of the NBA.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, overall, great game. Like we mentioned before, 20-point comeback by Minnesota, largest comeback in the history of Game 7 in the NBA. And Anthony Edwards, he was struggling a little bit early, but he started to get his rhythm going in the second half. And interesting stat here, Denver, they outscored Denver 60-32 from 9:51 in the third to the end of the game. How about that?
That's frustrating.
Yeah.
How do you blow a 20-point lead at home? I don't even want to talk about it.
I mean, especially when you have Jokic and Murray.
But that's all they had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aaron Gordon needs some credit there. He's a hustle guy.
Game 7 didn't happen.
Fair enough. But Timberwolves, I need to give credit to Rudy Gobert. Honestly, I don't think they are making this run without him. As much as he was one of my more hated players throughout his early career, but at this point, he has shifted the culture. He's taught this team how to sit down, how to play defense, and without his size, he had a fadeaway jumper at one point. When have you ever seen Rudy Gobert make a fadeaway jumper from outside like 5 feet?
Want to do $25,000
Really?
off that shot.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't see that.
He called the shot.
Really?
Literally predicted the shot.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, Rudy Gobert hitting a fadeaway jumper. When I saw that, I was like, all right, y'all are cooked, Denver. Like, it is over. When he's in it with one of these, like, nah, y'all are cooked. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see the Mavericks. They just beat the Oklahoma City Thunder to get here in a very well coached, well thought out series. At the end of the day, I feel like Jason Kidd's coaching is kind of the defensive schemes and whatnot was kind of what put the Mavs over. Their size kind of helped as well. The Thunder had Chet Holmgren, and he's not. He's about it. They were putting the Jalen Williams from Arkansas in there, so it was interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they address that.
Yeah, it's just a youth movement there at Oklahoma City. We just talked about Minnesota saying they need their tough losses. This is OKC's tough loss. They'll rebuild on it, and they'll be back next year.
Exactly.
Yeah, like you mentioned, they'll be back next year. Overall, great to watch this young squad this year. I mean, I feel like they proved a lot of people wrong from the beginning of the season to get to where they were now. I mean, unfortunately, they lost to Dallas, but just looking at Dallas here, Luka Doncic, he's looking like the Luka that we're used to seeing. I mean, there were some concerns where Dallas, they might be eliminated with him not being healthy. I mean, he hasn't played his best the last couple of times, and we've seen it through this series with the turnovers and whatnot. But like I mentioned before, he looked like the player that we're used to seeing. And
Yep.
I also want to give a shout-out to PJ Washington,
Yeah.
NBA Cat.
I was going to bring those guys.
NBA Cat. I mean,
They're everywhere.
But Washington, he showed up big, especially from behind the arc, knocking down those big time
He
threes.
had been quiet in the early parts of that Game 7 and hit those very clutch threes there at the end. So, yeah, it was very good timing.
Yeah, I mean, since he was traded from Charlotte, making the move to Dallas, I feel like we know who he actually is as a player, and he is a big-time factor for this Mavericks squad. He matches up with Luka and Kyrie really well.
Yeah, I mean, he when you're over at Charlotte, it's hard to kind of gauge what kind of player you are because you're just out there putting up shots. You're not really trying to win games or anything like that. So once you get on a contender, you see what kind of player it truly is. Like you said, another player I want to shout out though, Derrick Jones Jr. had a absolutely great series. Not an NBA cat, but an absolute dog. I think he also hit like a weird fadeaway or some sort of shot, and I was like, okay, he has that in his bag. Like, this is a guy who started out in the NBA as literally just a dunker. He was like Mac McClung. He showed up in the dunk contest, and that was the first time anybody had heard of him. Well, everyone knew Mac McClung, but for Derrick Jones Jr.'s case, nobody had heard of him until he put up some crazy dunks in the dunk contest. And he just watching him evolve, I noticed that the Bulls is when his shooting really started coming to fruition, and I got to give a huge shout out to him because he was the role player that showed up throughout the game. It does need to be talked about, though, Kyrie or Kylie, whatever you want to talk. He kind of looks like Kanye. I saw a picture where he looked like Kanye the other day, so you can throw that name in there. He had I felt like he played great defense. He passed the ball very well, but his shooting just was not there.
Yeah, but when you have the team picking up around you, it's okay.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be that guy anymore.
I think he will be this series, though.
Probably needs to be for this series, but he might also be saving his best for the finals, but we'll cover that in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, last night wasn't the best performance out of Kyrie. Despite having 22 points, he was 9 for 23 and 4 out of 10 from 3. But good point there. I feel like he's going to have to step up in this series against the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I think that's definitely – he didn't have a bad effort. He definitely put in full effort and whatnot. Just the shooting just wasn't there. It just seemed like he wasn't trying to look for his shot. But enough about the West. Let's move over to where I want to talk about. The Celtics and Pacers are going up against each other in a series. I'll talk about the Celtics first because I haven't watched a game, so you guys might have a better input. This is what we expected from them. Like, there was no point in this series. There's no point in the season where I doubted they would find themselves in the conference finals. It was just always about who they would play against. Were the Pacers a team that I expected them to play against? Absolutely not. And I was thinking more the Bucks or the Sixers or Knicks, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics are where they're expected to be and where they should be. Simple as that. Injuries piled up a little bit for Cleveland, but they were going to win that series no matter what.
What's interesting is, sorry, I'll let you go.
Go right ahead.
Donovan Mitchell, if he wasn't injured in game 4 or 5, I feel like they would have won that game and pushed it to 6.
Really?
That's all I wanted to mention.
Yeah, I mean, like Josh mentioned, obviously the Celtics, with their elite offense that they had all year, it was obvious that they were going to get by the Cavs. I mean, congrats to the Cavs on an amazing season. But, yeah, it's a shame Donovan Mitchell was injured. And you make a good point there. Who knows? They might have won that game if he were to stay healthy.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Cavs here in a little bit. But Pacers and Knicks,
Go ahead.
That was such a great series. Should I let you guys talk?
No, you just take it. I've got nothing to say on this one. This is your team. Go ahead.
Boy, oh boy, where do I even start with this team? Miles Turner deserves Eastern Conference MVP. Tyrese Halliburton, he actually took some shots, guys. He took some shots. TJ McConnell should have a jersey hung in the rafters when it's all said and done. Shout out Pascal Siakam for teaching this team how to actually sit down and play defense. I remember a time when Aaron Nesmith was considered a bag of chips in a trade for Malcolm Brogdon. Give me Pacers in 7.